Hello Duelers, Tombox here, and in this video I will be commentating over my own Monarch Mirror Match. There are two different builds. Mine is the Caius Erebus Turbo, and Hayes is running the Thestos hand-ripping build, which is slightly better against the Monarch Mirror Match. So he will be going first. Now he's running Upstart. I'm guessing he's running Upstart so he can lower the Monarch spell count, because having too many spells is pretty dead. Goes into Pantheism, gets rid of one of his minions, and draws into another Upstart, another Pantheism. Well, I guess I start with the 2000 life boost from the double Upstart. Pantheism gives me the choice of 3 Tenacity, so I give him a Tenacity. Tenacity, he reveals a Thestos in his hand, and he adds a Prime Monarch. With the Pantheism, he's going to ditch that right away to get the additional 2 draw. Now he uses the Prime Monarch summon by banishing one of his spells. Activates the Dominion to lower the level of Thestos. Thestos will be getting rid of my Return of the Monarch, so that my Pantheism is kind of dead, and I have to top deck into a new card to actually get it working. Luckily, I did, but I did open with an Eidos and double Idea. So I use Idea to summon one Eidos, so when I use Pantheism, I don't draw into another Eidos. Or even if I do, I don't kill myself. So now I go into Pantheism. I give him the choice of 3 Tenacity as well, because I want to add the field spell to level the playing field. Because right now, all his Monarchs can run over my guys, and I can't exactly run over his guys. I will crash, so this is the reason why. In addition to that, I can actually use it as my tribute engine as well. So there's multiple tribute engines in this deck. One's the Idea and Netherworld Knight, and the other one is using Dominion and the Prime Monarch. So when I summoned my Erebus, I dumped another Pantheism and the Prime Monarch into the graveyard. Right now, I can immediately run over the Thestos without, bothering with anything else. So Thestos is going to die because of the 800 attack boost. Now, Escalation is actually really good, but I can't use it. So in this matchup, Escalation, Stormforth, and Prime Monarch are 3 of the most important cards, and the person that uses these cards the best will usually win the matchup. But Escalation is pretty useless for me right now because I don't have another Monarch, and I was hoping that I would draw into an Ether to the Pantheism, which I did. So he goes for the Escalation. I had to give it to him because the other ones are Stormforth, and Escalation takes 1 turn to set up, rather than getting screwed right away. I can get myself screwed over 1 turn later. But he summons an Erebus and gets the Return of the Monarchs to add another card to hand. He adds a Caius, and I know he has Escalation, so I know that on my turn, I am going to get Caius. So he ditches 2 cards, Pantheism and a Prime Monarch, into the graveyard, so that even if he loses 1, he has another one to activate. I immediately activate my Ether in hand, tributing my Erebus, so I can force him to hit my Caius. It's very important to hit the monster that Ether summons out, because that Monarch will go back to hand, and then it will get its tribute effect off the next turn, and that will use up more of your resource. Now I'm really scared, because he does have a dark monster to get a double banish from the Caius from the Escalation. So I have to force a bait play right now. And it really sucks because I'm about to brick my own engine right here. I got my Idea onto the field and my Ether, and then I'm hoping that he would banish these 2 instead of my field spell or my Prime Monarch. With the field spell and the Prime Monarch, I still have my tribute engine going, and I have my Caius here. So I'm going to try to Caius him, but this is where he kind of outplayed me because I didn't know he had an Ether in hand. And he managed to block my Caius by removing both targets. And now I have to run over the Erebus because I don't want the Erebus to go back to his hand and spin one of my more important cards back into the deck. Well, I'm in still a bit of a disadvantageous spot because he does have the ability to constantly get new Monarchs to return as long as he can get another tribute out. Whereas me, I'm using Erebus to recycle the ones in my graveyard. So I top deck the Stormforth and stuff Pantheism, so I activate Pantheism to choose one of the 3 cards. It gives me March of the Monarchs, which is not exactly an ideal target, but I thought it would be still useful to kind of block the targeting. So I immediately just get rid of the Stormforth and then kept the March of the Monarchs. But then I did not know that he ran a Scolding, so it's 3,000 life points to remain in control of this game. And he draws into Erebus, and this is where I got really scared because he lowered the level of Erebus and he tribute summoned it. I'm like, is he gonna spin back my only Prime Monarch and then swing for game? Because that's actually game for him if he actually can pull it off. But the fact remains that his deck only has 2 Stormforths left, so he can't activate Pantheism, he can't activate, I guess, even the Ether he adds to his hand can't get additional Monarchs out into the field. Essentially, he's burnt out his engine. His entire Monarch deck is burnt out. That's actually kind of thanks to the 3 upstarts that he ran in his deck. So he summons out the Prime Monarch to actually get more defense. The Pantheism in my hand right now is pretty useless, because I don't have anything to ditch it to get the draw, so I throw it into the graveyard to get the search effect through Erebus. Now I lower the level of my Erebus, summon out the Erebus. He's not going to use Ether because he would actually lose more cards getting out the Ether. Especially when it's mid-chain, Return will not activate. Just to quickly recap some of the stuff in the graveyard, he does not have another Prime Monarch in his graveyard right now, and one of his Prime Monarchs is banished. Now I'm going to swing over the Erebus. Erebus or Ether, they're both the same right now because he has both of them in the graveyard already. He has 3 Erebus in the graveyard. Alright, he draws into an Eidos. Eidos is more or less a dead draw right now. But I'm still not in the best position as I just lost my Erebus. But fortunate for me, I still have 14 cards left in my deck, and during the end phase, I immediately summon out my Prime Monarch. And with the Stormforth in hand, I believe I'm just going to use the Stormforth now because I already drew a top deck into an Erebus. I can get rid of the Ether in case he drew anything good. And this last final swing should seal the deal. But it was quite the grind. And that's game. Hopefully you guys learned something in this duel. Just to recap some of the more important cards in the Monarch Mirror Match, we have Stormforth. I think this is the best card. It's a tribute fodder, gets rid of your opponent's monster, and is very difficult to respond to. This card pairs very well with Aether because Aether can be used during your opponent's turn, so you can use Stormforth during your opponent's turn and pair it with Aether, and Aether will set up your next turn too. And Aether is also good at protecting your cards, especially the ones that get targeted by other Monarch effects. Then there's Escalation the Monarchs, again similar to Aether, gives you Monarch access during your opponent's turn, which can interrupt their plays. And the final card is the Prime Monarch. Whoever that has really good control of the Prime Monarch can usually win the game. Prime Monarch gives you tributes and blocks OTKs. So I'm going to be uploading another Monarch replay online. This one will be Monarchs versus other matchups. I won't commentate over it so you guys can enjoy it at your own pace. Aside from that, I'm actually working on a lot of other things, MST Open Series 2, which will be held on November 14th, and I'll be sure to get a lot of live duels recorded and commentated. This will be happening right after the release of Dimensions of Chaos, so we can see how that set changes the TCG for the month, and then maybe 1 month later, the structure decks will be kind of running rampant. Now, I'm also working on Team APS's new mat and logo, so there's lots of things going on, so the video pace might be a little slower. Now, as always, please give it a thumbs up if you like this video. If you want to see more videos from MST.TV, please subscribe. There's a lot of good content coming up. And as always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.